Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're diving into a powerful quote by philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche: "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe." We'll explore the ongoing battle between personal identity and societal expectations. How do we maintain our individuality in a world that constantly pressures us to conform? Stick around as we break down the psychological and social forces at play, and discuss how we can navigate the tension between staying true to ourselves and fitting into the collective. Let's get into it. In a world where the collective pulse dictates much of the individual's path, society plays a fundamental role in shaping each person's identity. From an early age, individuals are molded by external forces, their families, communities, and cultural expectations. These forces create a framework of norms, traditions, and values that are passed down, shaping the identity of the individual in subtle yet profound ways. The child learns what is right and wrong, what is acceptable and unacceptable, and quickly adapts to fit into this predefined mold, often without questioning it. However, this conformity comes at a cost. As individuals grow, the innate desires for self-expression, independence, and personal choice often collide with the weight of societal expectations. The internal struggle between who one truly is and who one is expected to be becomes a silent war fought in the mind. The pressure to conform stifles individuality, pushing people to suppress unique traits and desires in order to blend in with the crowd. For some, this conflict is easy to resolve. They find a way to harmonize their personal identity with the group's norms, adapting in a way that still feels authentic. But for others, the strain becomes unbearable. The individual who feels an innate urge to stand apart from the tribe faces a daunting choice: remain true to themselves and face exclusion, or compromise their identity and integrate into the collective. It is a painful decision, one that questions the very essence of selfhood. This tension is particularly sharp when the individual's values contradict those of the group. When an artist strives to create something radically different from the mainstream, when an intellectual questions deeply held societal beliefs, or when a person longs for a lifestyle that deviates from societal norms, they are often met with resistance. Society reacts to these deviations with skepticism, dismissal, or outright hostility, reinforcing the idea that conformity is not only preferable but necessary for social cohesion. In a society that emphasizes conformity, the individual's struggle for authenticity can feel like an act of rebellion. And yet, this rebellion often holds the potential for progress, whether in the form of cultural innovation, social change, or personal fulfillment. The individual's battle against conformity is not just a personal journey but a reflection of the broader conflict between the collective's desire for stability and the individual's yearning for freedom. As we examine this tension, it becomes clear that the struggle for individuality is not merely a desire for self-expression but a deeper, more existential battle for one's right to exist as a distinct, independent being within the larger framework of society. Social pressure is an omnipresent force in the lives of individuals, often manifesting in subtle ways that are deeply ingrained in the structures of society. From the moment a person is born, they are exposed to a web of expectations set by family, peers, and societal norms. These pressures shape not only what is considered appropriate behavior but also what is deemed valuable or worthwhile. Peer groups, in particular, exert an immense influence over individual choices. The desire to fit in, to be accepted and respected by one's community, often leads individuals to align their actions with the expectations of others, even if it goes against their own beliefs. For many, this is the primary means of gaining social validation, reinforcing a cycle where personal authenticity is sacrificed in exchange for belonging. The cost of this social pressure is steep. It can lead to individuals suppressing their core values and beliefs, simply to avoid rejection or criticism. Consider the student who feels compelled to study subjects they have no passion for because their parents or peers deem them prestigious or lucrative. Or the professional who pursues a career path they have no interest in, simply because it is respected or expected by their social circle. In these instances, the individual's ambitions are molded, not by their true desires, but by the pressures to meet the standards set by others. This conformity to social norms may seem harmless at first, but over time it erodes an individual's sense of self. The more one yields to the collective pressures, the more distant they become from their own authenticity. The internal conflict that arises can lead to feelings of frustration, alienation, and even depression. A person may feel trapped in a life that feels untrue to them, yet unable to escape because of the fear of judgment or exclusion. Social structures, from familial expectations to cultural traditions, often force individuals into a mold that suppresses their uniqueness. The influence of these groups, whether intentional or unconscious, creates an environment where personal beliefs and ambitions must bend to fit the dominant narrative. It's a powerful dynamic, one that reinforces conformity at the cost of individual growth and self-expression. Yet, despite these pressures, there are those who resist. Some individuals choose to reject the expectations placed upon them, daring to forge their own paths even when doing so means stepping outside the comfort of group acceptance. The decision to live authentically in the face of social pressure is not easy, but it is a crucial part of the struggle for personal fulfillment. For these individuals, the desire for self-actualization outweighs the desire for approval, even if it means standing alone against the tide. In the end, the role of social pressure in shaping an individual's life is undeniable, but so too is the potential for resistance. The conflict between conformity and personal belief is a central struggle that defines the human experience, one that tests the limits of social cohesion and individual authenticity. Freedom, in its most pure form, represents the ability to make choices unbound by external constraints. It is the essence of autonomy, being able to act in accordance with one's own values, desires, and beliefs. Yet, true freedom is often a complicated ideal, especially in societies where external forces, family, culture, and peer influence, play significant roles in shaping individual behavior. In the context of societal influence, the notion of freedom is often compromised by the relentless pressure to conform. Societal norms act like invisible chains, subtly dictating the boundaries of what is acceptable and what is not. Individuals may find themselves in a constant state of negotiation between their own desires and the expectations placed upon them by society. What begins as a natural desire to belong and be accepted turns into a struggle for personal autonomy. For many, the pursuit of freedom is not simply about breaking away from authority or tradition, it's about the ability to live authentically. Autonomy in this sense means the power to define one's own identity, free from the weight of societal judgment or preordained roles. But this is where the challenge lies. The more an individual seeks to express their true self, the more they are often met with resistance from the collective. It's as if society has already established a script for life, and any deviation from that script is seen as a threat to the established order. This tension is most visible in situations where an individual desires something that does not align with the collective's expectations. A person who seeks to follow a less conventional career path, for example, may find themselves at odds with societal norms that glorify certain professions over others. Similarly, someone who wishes to embrace a lifestyle that diverges from the typical, such as opting for minimalism in a consumer-driven society, may find their choices criticized or misunderstood. The struggle for autonomy is also intricately tied to the fight for self-expression. When individuals are stifled by the societal pressures to fit in, their capacity to express themselves freely diminishes. Personal choices, whether in appearance, career, relationships, or beliefs, become heavily influenced by the desire for societal acceptance rather than the pursuit of what truly aligns with one's core identity. In this sense, freedom becomes less about choice and more about the ability to assert one's own voice against the cacophony of external influences. The cost of fighting for autonomy can be steep. Individuals who assert their independence often face isolation or criticism. But those who persist in their pursuit of self-expression often find that true freedom comes not from external validation but from the inner conviction to live life on their own terms. Ultimately, the fight for autonomy within a society that values conformity is not just a struggle for freedom in the physical sense, but a deeper battle for personal sovereignty. It is the fight to define oneself against the forces that seek to define them. For those who succeed in this struggle, freedom is not just an abstract concept, it is a lived reality, built on the foundation of self-truth and the courage to face societal resistance. Tradition, deeply embedded in the fabric of any society, serves as the cornerstone of cultural identity and continuity. It is through tradition that societies define their values, beliefs, and customs, passing them down through generations. These traditions provide a sense of stability and belonging, shaping individuals into members of the collective. However, while tradition offers a sense of security and structure, it can also act as a powerful force that constrains individual growth and innovation. The tension between tradition and progress lies in the inherent conflict between preserving the old and embracing the new. For many, tradition is seen as something sacred, an essential part of who they are and where they come from. The practices, rituals, and norms of the past are often revered, and there is an unspoken expectation that these should be upheld by future generations. This collective mindset reinforces the notion that following tradition is a mark of respect and loyalty to one's heritage. However, this reverence for tradition can create an environment where individual expression and progress are stifled. When the weight of tradition becomes too heavy, those who seek to break away from the prescribed norms face criticism, resistance, or even exclusion. The pressure to conform to the expectations set by the tribe can be overwhelming, particularly when those expectations do not align with the individual's values, desires, or vision for the future. For example, an artist may find themselves trapped within the confines of cultural expectations, where traditional art forms are valued over innovation. A scientist might struggle to challenge long-standing theories, not because they lack evidence, but because doing so would disrupt the established understanding that the community holds dear. Entrepreneurs and innovators often face similar struggles when they attempt to introduce new ideas that conflict with traditional business practices or cultural norms. The challenge becomes how to push for change and innovation while respecting the legacy of the past. Breaking away from tradition is a difficult and often painful process. Those who choose to do so risk alienating themselves from their communities, facing harsh judgment or outright rejection. Yet, progress often hinges on this very defiance. Every major advancement in human history, from the scientific revolution to the rise of social movements, has involved individuals who dared to challenge the status quo. They fought against the tide of tradition, not out of disregard for their cultural heritage, but in the belief that change was necessary for growth and progress. The impact of breaking away from tradition is profound. While it can result in personal growth and the birth of new ideas, it also brings the uncertainty of venturing into uncharted territory. The individual who paves their own path does so with the understanding that they may be met with resistance, but they also know that innovation and progress are born from such risks. As tradition is redefined or cast aside, new traditions may emerge, ones that honor both the past and the potential for future growth. In this delicate balance between tradition and progress, the individual plays a crucial role. It is through their courage to challenge the boundaries set by tradition that new horizons are explored and new possibilities created. The struggle is not necessarily to discard tradition altogether, but to find a way to integrate the wisdom of the past with the vision of the future, a balance that allows both individual growth and collective advancement to coexist. Groupthink is a powerful and insidious psychological phenomenon that occurs when individuals within a group prioritize harmony and consensus over critical thinking and individual beliefs. The desire to conform to the majority, to avoid conflict, and to maintain a sense of belonging can overwhelm one's ability to make independent judgments. This powerful urge to align with the group often leads individuals to suppress their personal beliefs, opinions, and doubts, resulting in decisions that may be flawed, irrational, or harmful. The pressure to conform within a group setting is often subtle but pervasive. Individuals who challenge the group's views or offer differing perspectives may be met with ridicule, disapproval, or outright exclusion. The fear of rejection or being labeled as an outsider can be so strong that the individual sacrifices their own convictions in favor of maintaining the group's cohesion. This is particularly prevalent in environments where the group's approval is crucial for social, professional, or personal reasons. Whether within families, workplaces, or social circles, the psychological effects of groupthink can be profound and long-lasting. By suppressing their true feelings or opinions to align with the majority, individuals may begin to experience feelings of anxiety, guilt, and self-doubt. The internal conflict between personal beliefs and the pressure to conform creates cognitive dissonance, a psychological state where an individual's beliefs and behaviors are in direct contradiction. This dissonance can lead to stress, emotional exhaustion, and a diminished sense of self-worth, as the individual becomes disconnected from their authentic identity. Moreover, groupthink can cause individuals to become complicit in harmful or unethical actions. When the desire for group cohesion outweighs the need for personal integrity, individuals may find themselves supporting or even engaging in actions that go against their moral compass. The collective mindset suppresses critical thinking and ethical considerations, as everyone in the group becomes focused on agreeing with one another rather than questioning decisions or assessing risks. This is particularly dangerous in high-stakes situations, such as corporate environments, politics, or even personal relationships, where groupthink can lead to disastrous outcomes. The danger of groupthink is that it not only affects the individual but also the larger group or society as a whole. As individual dissent is silenced, the group's collective decision-making becomes flawed, with ideas and solutions that are less creative, more biased, and often less effective. Without the influence of diverse perspectives, innovation stagnates, and problems go unaddressed. In extreme cases, groupthink can escalate into group polarization, where the group's opinions and actions become more extreme and detached from reality, further pushing individuals into behaviors they might otherwise avoid. However, breaking free from the grip of groupthink is not easy. It requires individuals to develop the courage to question the group, to voice dissent, and to assert their independence despite the psychological cost. Individuals who challenge groupthink may face backlash, but the benefits of maintaining personal integrity and encouraging open, critical discussion are invaluable. It is through this kind of dialogue and the willingness to stand alone when necessary that true progress and healthy decision-making can emerge. The psychological impact of groupthink is a reminder of the fragility of individual autonomy within the collective. While human beings are social creatures, and our need for connection is undeniable, maintaining personal authenticity and the courage to think critically is essential for mental well-being, ethical decision-making, and the flourishing of society.